Hello guys, welcome back to our Pogsim YouTube channel. This month, like I said, we are trying to cover on sow unit management. So this week I'm focusing on weaning. In the previous video we were talking about treating weaning as a process, but we were focusing on the piglets. So in today's video is going to be very interesting, and it's going to be something like breaking news to some new farmers. Why? Because these are systems that I developed with my teams, and it is giving me results. So I just thought that we should share so that we improve our production levels, then we improve the health status of our pigs in the pens. So in today's video I'm going to talk about weaning the sows. Let me pause there. Masawa anu winiwa ere. So we need to appreciate that in as much as we focus on weaning the piglets, we should also make an effort to attend to the sows that could have weaned off. So there are some methodologies that we've been working with, and they've been producing magnificent results, which I'm going to share with you. So today's video is going to be divided in 3 parts. Number one, the vaccination schedules that we should abide to when it comes to managing sows that are weaning off. Then the feeding regime, or the kind of feeds that you are going to feed them once they wean off. Then the final part relates to monitoring those sows, because whatever the case, we have to abide by the 2.5 parities per year. We also have to abide by the 10th rule, which says a sow at whatever time must be represented by at least 10 offsprings. We talked about it in the 10th rule principle video. You can check it out in some of our playlists. So let's get straight into the video so that people may understand why I'm saying we should manage the sows that have weaned off. The first thing, like I said, we need to consider is that our sows are the productive mothers. So we need to manage them as much as possible. Why? Because they represent our stock, and the sows also determine the number of times that we are able to go to the market. In other words, I'm simply saying the sows determines the sow unit, or the sow head, the total head that you can have at whatever time. So like I said in the previous video where we were talking about weaning off piglets, that weaning is not an event, weaning is a process. So the same thing applies to the mothers that you want to wean off. So the first thing I do is I focus on the health and the body condition of the sows first. How do I do that? I have created a vaccination schedule that helps me to monitor the sow's body condition. So the first thing I do is I inject Farosure 14 days before weaning. Why? Because I don't want to lose extra 2 weeks after weaning for me to clean the sow's reproductive system. So I prepare for that when the sow is already lactating, and Farosure has no effect on its lactation. It doesn't affect the piglets, it doesn't affect its production of milk. So I just give myself a 2 weeks heads up when it comes to my production. So I inject Farosure 2 weeks before weaning. Why do we inject Farosure? We want to clean the system of parvovirus. Inshona ndo zvirwere zvatinoti zvepai zvemuchibereko. So I need to make sure that the sow's reproductive system is clean. Mind you, the sow has been confined to a crate which is about 1.5 meters by 80 centimeters in width. So it was confined to one place, which means infections are possible, in that bacteria accumulation is possible. So I don't want to take that risk of exposing my sow to a boar when I know that chances are so high that it could have been infected. I make sure that I religiously follow this so that it doesn't affect my litter sizes and it doesn't affect my farrowing process. Then the second thing I do is I inject a dewormer 7 days before weaning. Why do I inject a dewormer 7 days before weaning? Like I said, it's about giving myself a head start when it comes to what? To production. Why do I prefer an injectable dewormer than an oral dewormer? An injectable dewormer, examples being Ivamax, ivermectin gold, and ivermectin plus. Those dewormers, they stay at least 60 days active in the sow's body. So it gives me at least 60 days of protection, knowing that when I save my sow, the body is not involved in fighting worms or the accumulation of other bacteria in its system, but it will be focusing on maintaining the status of my embryos or my futures that could have been produced in the sow after saving. So oral dewormer, it stays in the body about 21 to 30 days. So I wouldn't want to expose them to an oral dewormer. Why? Because we need to appreciate that by nature sometimes we forget, and it's not always where the stockman abides to that. So weaning has to be done when I'm there, or I have to make sure that everything is being followed to the dot so that we don't see negative patterns along the lines. Then 3 days before weaning, I administer a multivitamin. I prefer multivit B plus. It has done a lot of magic for me. So when it comes to the dosage now, when it comes to the dosage, I now look at the specific sow in relation to its body condition or its body size. But there is something that we have tried and it has worked. This is about shocking the internal system of the sow. So I give a little bit of overdosage. If the manufacturer's prescription is saying I should give 1 ml to every 10 kg body weight, sometimes I inject 1.2 ml for 10 kg body weight. Why? Because I'm trying to shock its system. The moment I shock its system, its production of amino acids or its production of minerals, it increases. So the sow is not forced to scour. Why? Because its immune system is strong enough to absorb the kind of shock that I could have put it in. So that's how I do it. For pigs that are between 90 kgs to 125 kgs body weight, I inject 6 mils. Sometimes I even go for 8 for those that are weigh between 215 to 230 kgs, so that I just shock the system. How do I tell that this one I should inject this minimum or this maximum dosage? Like I said, I look at the body condition. I look at the skin. If the skin or the fur is rugged, it means I should attend to mineral deficiency to that sow. So it gives me confidence to shock its system. Then on the day of weaning, I initiate what I call a 3-day course of oral short-act antibiotic. My preference is Ultrastrep, Farira. So orally, I put it in the drinking water and do it for 3 days. From the day of weaning, then I extend additional 2 days. Why do I do that? it's all about trying to manage diseases and bacteria. So it gives me a chance to make sure that when the time arrives for my sow to be serviced, or when it gets on heat, I'm sure that the sow is fully fit and fully boosted when it comes to multivitamin production in its body, and it does not contain any worms. So vaccination schedule, it begins 2 weeks earlier before weaning, then it ends 3 days or 4 days after the actual weaning event. That's how I manage the vaccination schedule, or that's the vaccination schedule that you have created for our sow here at the end. For the past 4 years, we haven't had any challenges or any problems with regards to this vaccination schedule. Then, like I said, this video is going to be divided in 3 segments. The first part, I've talked about the vaccination schedule. Then we need now to look at the feed and the feeding regime. The first thing I do when I wean off my pigs, I put them on flash feeding. Flash feeding is more like overfeeding. When a sow has been consuming 7 kgs, I give it 10 kgs. So by nature, pigs are greedy animal, or they are avarice in nature. It will try to consume more, then it will be forced to scour. Once it does that, it actually cleans its system. Since I'm also doing a 3-day course on antibiotic, oral antibiotic, so the system is thoroughly cleaned. You see, then when it comes to the actual feed, I stop giving them lactating feed from the moment they wean off. Then I turn to grower feed if they are underweight, if they've managed to keep their weight in place, or if they are overweight. I immediately give them boy and sow meal. But for those sows that could have lost weight, I make sure that for the next 14 days, they are on a grower diet. A grower diet is more, is rich in protein, which is very critical when it comes to the sows. Why? A sow in poor condition can never give you a huge litter. So what I want are piglets that range from 10 to 18 piglets per parity. So I have to manage that by making sure that my sow is in optimum conditions for that to happen. So I put my sows on grower meal for 14 days. But if the body weight is normal according to my satisfaction, and if the sow is overweight, I make sure that I immediately start putting those sows on boy and sow meal. Why? I want to avoid an accumulation of fats in the uterus. Like I said in one of my videos when we were talking about how to manage pregnant sows, you can check it on the above link. I said fats are stored in the pig's body in 3 parts. There are fats that are stored in the uterus. Those are very dangerous fats. Why? Because they cut on your litter size. They also expose your sow to dangers of a heart attack. Then there are those fats that are stored underneath that we see or that we know as back fat. Those are not as much dangerous as fats in the uterus. Then there are those fats that accumulate in the intestines. Those are also dangerous fats. So I try to manage. Boy and sow meal is rich in fiber or energy. So it has low fat content and low protein content. It helps me to manage that sow the moment I turn it or to boy and sow meal. Then when it comes to the feeding regime, I've made it clear that you put the sows for at least 3 days on a flash feeding. Give it too much feed so that it is forced to consume more. The moment it does that, by nature the system will force the sow to scour off. Once it does that, don't worry, we are giving an oral short-acting antibiotic that will not affect your sow, but it will actually help in cleaning the sow's system. So that is it on the feed, in the feeding regime. Then the final part now is on monitoring. I have always said this, and I will continue to say that a sow has to go back on heat between 4 days and 7 days after weaning. Once you fail to do that, chances of you abiding by the 2.5 parities are so low. You'll be lying to yourself. So the only way your sow can bake on heat between 4 and 7 days is when it's in optimum conditions. So if you are sure now that your sow is healthy, you have to constantly monitor for heat detection. If you say that you are now on day 6 and your sows are not showing any signs of heat, that's when you have to do a bore exposure exercise. You place a ball inside those pens. A ball will help you to induce that heat. In extreme cases, especially if a sow has weaned off and is now 8 to 10 days, then you have to make sure that you induce artificial heat by administering drugs that can help you in that regard. Estromate is one good example. You can inject 2 mils of estromate so that you induce artificial heat. The idea is that you have to remain productive, and your production has to be not only effective but efficient. So you do this BOTIS exercise, then you are good to go. The process doesn't end there. Why? Because like I said, the first 14 days after weaning are very critical. You have to make sure that your sow is ready for reproduction. Then when it comes to the environment now, it's very critical. You have to make sure that you wean off a group that you can house effectively without any challenges. Sows that have been weaned off by nature, they fight. So you have to make sure you group them by body size and by body condition. Bullies have to be put in a single pen. Then the normal or the weaker ones, or those that are calm, or those pigs that are reserved, you have to make sure you put them in a single pen. That will help you minimize the chances of fights or chances of scavenging. Then it also minimizes competition for space and the competition for feed. So you should never overcrowd weaned sows. The moment you do that, you are delaying the heats for your pigs, and you are also doing yourself a disservice. So make sure your sows are housed in a proper manner and they are not left to compete for feed, for water, or for space. That is very critical. Then you should also appreciate that weaned sows, they are messy by nature and they produce high quantities of dung. So that goes back now to how you manage your pens, where we were talking about the cleaning regimes in one of our previous videos. You can check the video on this channel where we're talking about the cleaning regimes. You have to clean at least 3 times the pens that you could have put your weaned sows. Why? Because they are messy. You wouldn't want to activate E. coli, because you know E. coli is activated by overstay urine and dung. The moment you do that, you are doing yourself a disservice. Why? Because in the end, it will affect your litter sizes, and if you survive that, it will affect the health status of your new piglets. So you need to manage that. You have to make sure that the E. coli in the sow system, you have to remain dormant or inactive by making sure that they are in a clean and safe environment. So these are some of the tips and nuggets that I thought we could share today on why you should manage weaned sows. In as much as we would love to focus on the piglets, we should also make an effort to manage the sows. Why? Because they are our productive animals. In actual sense, in business language, they are our stock. So we have to make sure that they are healthy, they are not sick, and they are well fed. So guys, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video presentation. I look forward to your feedback so that we can discuss further. If you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do so. It goes a long way. We would really appreciate that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called PORCZIM. It's PORCZIM. You can also follow me on my personal Facebook page. It's Gerald JT Musara, or you can follow PORCZIM on Facebook. So thank you guys. See you in the next video. Let's keep producing, let's keep farming, let's keep growing. Cheers.